Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Runestone. Today we're doing Magic the Gathering Top 10 Healers, so let's explore them and see what they are. And now, at number 10, we have Castria Healer at the top of our list. It's Icaro, Lair of Behemoth, and it's a common, which is currently going for about 11 cents on the market. It's pretty cool why it's at number 10 as well. It costs 2 mana for a 2/2, which is pretty cool and pretty standard, so you're paying 2 for 2. Anyway, so when you hit cycle for another card, you gain a life, and it has cycling ability. Again, why it's on this list at the top 10 list is because it's standard common right now, so when you want to do those combos, this card is done very well. So now let's start with number 9. And at number 9 on our list is Troubled Healer from Prophecy, which is also a common, which is roughly going for about 13 cents. Troubled Healer costs 3 mana for a 1/2, so it's but it has Sacrifice Land, prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to target creature or player this turn. So the reason why it's at number 9 is because Sacrifice Land, so that's not too bad because you can have a lot of land, and there are many cards that return land cards from your graveyard to your hand or player or library. But it says to creature or player, so that's a really cool ability because it could be basically anything. And that's the reason why it's at number 9. So let's move on to number 8, which we have Hallowed Healer from Odyssey, and it's a common which is also going for roughly about 15 cents on the market. So all these healers so far are not very expensive on the market. It costs 3 mana for a 1/1, but unlike the other one, this one says tap, prevent the next 2 damage that would be done to target creature, player, or creature. So that's really cool. But it also has Threshold. It says prevent the next 4 damage that would be done to target creature or player. Threshold is, as it says in the picture, 7 or more cards in your graveyard, which can happen with 3 mana, but even then, tap it to prevent 4 damage for 3 mana. That's a pretty cool ability for this kind of common card art. So let's move on to number 7. So we have Healer of the Pride, and from N13 and Blue Rot. It's the first on this list that's an uncommon, which is roughly going for 34 cents on the market at the time of this video, which is double from the rest of the cards you've seen so far. So 4 mana, it's a 2/3, which is not that good. Has the ability, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. With card combinations, that gaining 2 life each turn with a creature in play can have a very drastic effect. It can have a domino effect for creating creatures with certain cards, which I won't reveal. So that's really cool. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6, we got Castria Healer from Battle for Zendikar, and it's a common which is going for roughly about 10 cents on the market at this time of the video. The reason why it's at number 6 as well, it costs 2 for this 1/2 Vampire Cleric Ally Healer. So it's really cool. It has all those Vampire Cleric allies with cards combination could really have. Then it has Rally, so whenever a healer or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So that's really cool if you're building a deck around allies. Keep getting life constantly. This is the reason why, for the casting cost and what ability you can get out of it, is really cool. So let's move on to number 5. And number 5, halfway down our list, is Master Healer from Urza's Destiny, which can be from 7th, 8th, or 9th. But in either case, it is rare for going roughly about 28 cents on the market at the time of this video. The reason why it's at number 5 is actually it's pretty cool rare. For 5 mana though, that's really steep. It says prevent the next 4 damage to target creature or player this turn, and it's a 1/4, so it's kind of like a defender basically. 4 damage can make a difference, especially when you're playing against a red deck when it's typically 2 and 3, so it could be 2 and 2. This card could come into effect when they're playing Shock twice, could really help. And this is the reason why it's at number 5. So let's move on to number 4, which we have Healer of the Glade from Core 2020, and it's a common going for roughly 7 cents on the market because this card is very new at the time of this video. I think this is really, really good. This is why it's at number 4 for this common. 1 mana for a 1/2. That alone is really cool. But then on top of that, you gain 3 life. This is why it's at number 4. Simply just because of its casting cost ability for that 1 mana, this is why it's at number 4. So let's move on to number 3, which we have Faith Healer from Urza's Saga, and it's rare, which is going for about $1.43 on the market. That's right, another Urza card is on here, which is really cool. It's a cleric, so With the current format with Zendikar, Kaldheim, and all that stuff out right now, clerics are very powerful. So with this 2 mana, you get a 1/1, but it says sacrifice an enchantment, gain life equal to its sacrifice enchantment's total casting cost. So that's really cool because it has no tapping ability, so you can do it as much as you want. So this can be a later in the game, beginning of the game, whatever it is. If they're going to destroy your enchantments, there's a reason to keep getting life. So this is why it's here, because really you can build a deck around it, but it also be really complicated. But this is why it's at number 3 and not any earlier. So let's move on to number 2, which we have Oram Samite Healer from Tempest. It's a rare, which is currently going for about $8.29 on the market. And as you can notice, the closer we get to 1, the more cards are getting more and more expensive. So this Oram Samite Healer counts as a cleric. Again, what I discussed earlier in the last card, clerics are very powerful. But it also has prevent up to 3 damage to any creature or player. It costs 3 mana for that 1/3. So it's basically like the other healers, which costs a little less, has a little less defense, but again, counts as a cleric. So that it makes that factor in that you can get this card out a bit faster, prevent 3 damage, so like a lightning bolt, totally useless. So this is why it's here at number 2. It's a really good card. So let's move on to number 1. That's right, your eyes are not deceiving. There's good old Lilania, Heretical Healer. It's from Magic Origins, which is a mythic rare going for roughly $23.91 on the market. And of course, it's a legendary creature with lifelink, and it costs only 3 mana. So the reason why it's at number 1, well, look at that. It says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile the card, then return her to the battlefield, transfer it under her owner's control. If you do, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. That is really cool. It's also when you flip the card, but this is the reason. It's 2/3 for a 3 lifelink, and you can get an extra zombie and then return to the battlefield. So it's very, very combinated card, I would say. This is why it's at number 1. A really cool ability. And if you like this video, there's more on the channel, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.